Hello, this is Bad Vibes. I'm back. Been sick the last 2 weeks, but I'm about 85%, so here we go. Today's stories is why dating sites may not be as good of an idea as you may think. Be safe out there. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. I wasn't really actively looking, but would pop on OkCupid every few weeks or so to see if anything interesting was in my inbox. Being female, I had a very active inbox. I noticed an email from an interesting, fairly local guy. The email was alright, asking about polyamory, which I don't mind talking about if the person that is asking is sincerely interested and respectful. We got to chatting. I had zero romantic sexual interest, but thought this could be a friendship. After a few months of chatting, he found me on Facebook, asked if it was okay to send me a request, and I agreed. We've been chatting, getting along well, and he seemed like a nice person. A little weird, but that's okay, because I'm a little weird myself. We continued to chat here and there for the next 2 years, send birthday greetings, and just a casual friendship. Then he started to ask me several times to meet and hang out, etc. I considered it. But at that time, I was running my own business and working about 70 hours a week, plus maintaining my home and raising my child, and trying to balance 2 partners and an extremely needy, demanding, workaholic client who had no boundaries. 11 p.m. phone calls occurred without a note of hesitation or remorse. So the meetup never occurred, but we kept in touch online. Late last year, a news story broke about a man and his girlfriend raping and murdering her young teenage daughter. I never connected the name till a friend contacted me and said, "Oh, I see you're friends with, did you see him on the news?" The news story used his full legal name, not his nickname. Think Richard versus Dick, which is why I never connected the two. It was him. My then online friend of 2 years had beaten, raped, strangled, and dismembered his girlfriend's teen daughter with the help of his girlfriend. He's made several statements since then, stating that he's always had a murder-rape fantasy, and that it wasn't fun murdering her, as he apparently thought it would be. It still sends chills down my spine. I dodged a bullet, big time. Be safe out there. You never know who's on the other side of the keyboard or phone call. And, dude, let's not meet. A few years ago, my friend convinced me to get a Tinder account. I had been single for about a year and a half after finally getting out of a 3-year abusive relationship. But that's a whole other story for another day. So I decided, why not? I'll make the account, and if I don't like it, I'll delete it. What harm could it do? Little did I know. I was blown away by how many guys messaged me. I think we have a hard time admitting that it's a bit of a confidence booster. Anyways, I've been talking to this one guy that I found very attractive, and we seem to have a lot in common. So finally I agreed to meet up with him, but only if it's in public. So after a bit of back and forth, we agree on him coming to my work during lunch and just hang out for a bit. I was currently working at a grocery store deli, and I was back taking orders and helping customers when about 45 minutes later, I noticed a man staring at me. He was wearing sunglasses, which already made him stand out since we were inside, and I automatically knew it was him. I wasn't sure what to do. It kind of seemed like he wanted to stay hidden from me. Do I call him out and say hi? I ended up just ignoring it and justifying it as he's probably just coming in to make sure I was who I said I was. But looking back, that's just giving myself too much credit. I'm no model or anything like that. I'd say I'm average looking and on the chunky side, with some confidence issues. After he left, I thought maybe he didn't like what I looked like in person, and that's why he came in to check me out first. But I now know better. So about 2 hours later, he texts me, "I'm outside," and I replied that I'm just clocking out and I'll meet him out front. It was the same guy as before, just without the glasses this time. I didn't bring it up or tell him I saw him earlier. It just felt kind of awkward. I always seem to give people the benefit of the doubt, and try to justify their actions. Lunch went really well, and I really liked him, so I ended up just forgetting about the earlier situation. I told him that I wanted to take things slow, and he seemed totally okay with it. We both really liked the Utah Jazz, so he invited me over to his house to watch the game after I got off work. My coworker and friend told me they had a bad feeling about it, but I just told him, I'll be fine. I'm a big girl. We both laughed, and then I was on my way to his house. When I got there, he told me he had a roommate, but he wasn't home, so it would just be the two of us. The night was going very well, until he said he needed to go to the bathroom. Before I go any further, I need to explain his living room a little. Right when you walk in, the TV is near the front door. The living room and kitchen didn't have a wall between them. It was just one big open space, and the couch was placed in between, so it wasn't against any wall. Sitting on the couch, you're facing the front door, and the kitchen is behind you. I hear him open the door, and I continue watching the game. I feel him come up behind the couch and put his hands on my shoulders, down to my hands, and he lifts them behind me. I thought he was just goofing around, so I went with it, until he starts making my hands go lower, when I suddenly feel his junk. Shocked, I bolt up, turn around and see him butt naked, fully erect, with the most serious face. His bright blue eyes just slicing into me. I felt dread. All I could think to say was, what are you doing? Not changing his expression, in a monotone voice, he replies, what do you think? I just came here to watch the game and hang out. You don't just come over to a guy's house you meet on Tinder, not expecting to hook up. Shocked and disgusted, I reply, I made it clear, I want to take things slow. This is not slow. Fuming mad, he walked around the couch and started yelling at me, calling me a tease. At this point, I wanted to get out, so I grabbed my purse from beside the couch and started to walk towards the door. When he saw what I was doing, he ran up to the door, locked both the locks, and stood there, still naked and still erect, telling me I'm not leaving until I slept with him. Still in shock, I laughed thinking he must be joking. This went on for 2 hours. I would go to the door and he would push me away or grab the doorknob telling me no. I am now in survival mode, racking my brain on what I should do. My phone is dead and I don't know the area. It's been 2 hours and he's still not letting me go. I honestly felt like he was going to hurt me if I didn't do what he said. So finally I told him, okay, but only if you let me go to the bathroom and freshen up. He had me go to his bathroom in his bedroom and said he was going to make us dinner and drinks, acting like nothing happened, like he just didn't spend 2 hours yelling at me, holding me against my will until I would sleep with him. I just sat in there trying to get my phone to turn on, but knowing it was fully dead and I had no way to contact anyone for help. But that's when I remembered. When he was showing me his apartment, he showed me the balcony they shared with the neighbors. I put my ear up next to the bathroom door. I could still hear him in the kitchen. I opened the bathroom door slowly, praying he doesn't walk in or hear me coming out. I slowly tiptoe across his bedroom to the patio when I hear him yell, "Are you kidding me?" I felt my heart sink into my stomach. At this point, I knew I was caught. I slowly look up and I could see him through the crack of the door, walking to the kitchen sink with his finger in his mouth. He cut his finger. I got a boost of confidence and slowly opened his balcony door. Thank God it wasn't loud, but the confidence didn't last very long. I started thinking, what if he knows his neighbors and they don't help me? What if they're not home? What if I catch his attention and he pulls me back inside and God knows what happens to me? I took a deep breath and knocked on their patio glass door. It felt like forever, and I finally heard someone walk up to the door. She looked through the glass, very confused, but once she saw my face swollen from crying and distress, she opened the door. "Can I please walk through your house to leave?" She seemed a little confused, so I said, "Please, I just want to go home," choking back tears. She guides me through her bedroom. I see a man walking into the bedroom, and I jump, thinking it was my date coming to find me.
But as I look up, it's a 40-something-year-old man looking at me confused. Then the woman. She just nods and guides me out of the front door. She gives me a pat on the back, and I tell her thank you as I rush towards my car. As I'm at the bottom of the stairs, I hear a door open. I expect when I look back to see the woman, but it's my date. He's still naked, and once he sees me, he chases me. Now it's winter in Utah, and the ground is slippery from the ice, but I don't care. I finally make it to my car. I get in, I lock the door, and I look up the front of his apartment. He's standing there on the top of the stairs, just staring at me, and he finally turns back around and goes inside. I guess it was too cold for him to chase me all the way to my car. I hit the gas and get as far away as possible. I don't want to go home, so I drive to my parents'. I knock on my mom's bedroom window because it's about midnight now. I tell her everything and spend the night there. I ended up not calling the cops. I just didn't want to deal with it, which I regret to this day, because I don't want it to happen to another girl. But it's been so long and I don't want to go through it all just for them to tell me it's not enough evidence. I know I made a lot of mistakes that night, but I am a completely changed person now, and that's why I'll never use a dating site again. I was 21, recently became a police officer, so my friends suggested Tinder. As a 21-year-old and a new cop, I had the I'm invincible and I can take on anyone mentality. I matched with a very good-looking, out-of-my-league female. We chatted and eventually set up a date to meet. She said she had a great open field to look at the stars and hang out, and we could meet up at our house. So that night came. I was excited and she seemed to be excited when I picked her up. She guided me to the field and it looked nice. Open space, woods, deer and other wildlife. In the field, I noticed really dim headlights in the distance. Then, the van started driving towards us and pulled up right in front of us, almost close enough to block me from going forward. I told her to stay in the car and I'll go say hi. I grabbed my flashlight in the car and walked up. In the front of the driver's side of the van, there's a decently sized man. I asked him what was going on and if he could back his car up a little bit. He was very polite, said he was the owner of the property, and said he didn't mean to scare us. He told me he's been having trouble with poachers on his property and just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be shooting anything. I assured him that we only came here to look at some stars and wildlife. He was perfectly okay with that. Told me to have a nice date and drove away. After that, the girl was texting nonstop. Around an hour later, I saw headlights coming towards us again, this time at a really fast pace. We hopped in the car and I moved to a more defensive position. The same man came close enough to almost hit my car. She hopped out of the car at that point and ran towards the guy. I immediately knew I was fucked. I got out and gave them commands to back up and get on the ground. Neither of them complied. Obviously, he then proceeded to charge me and knock me to the ground. Luckily, I was able to get him on his back and get up. I saw my date grab a metal pipe from the van. She told me they have a gun and to give them my money and truck and I won't get hurt. Of course, with my invincible mentality, I said no. She started to cry saying they didn't want to hurt me. He then started to go back towards the car. At that point, I told them I was a cop, drew my concealed firearm, and told them to lay on the ground. After a moment of shock from all this, they complied. I was able to call 911 and tell them my name and badge number. I had two at gunpoint and needed backup immediately. I gave our dispatcher the best directions I could to this field. While on the phone, they both fled. Again, stupid new young cop mentality. I chased them. I took off after the man who ran into the woods around the field. I chased him for maybe 30 seconds and heard 3 loud pops and saw a muzzle flash. My invincible mentality went right out the window. I ran like hell towards my car and peeled the hell out of there. I went back to the area I picked her up in, called dispatch again, and had 2 officers come to that location. Of course, the first officers to pull up was my sergeant and my field training officer. Of course, they were both understanding and didn't give me shit about it at all. The most used words were dumbass and stupid fucking rookie. I hopped in their cars and went towards the field. Luckily, the van was still there. I was told to shut my mouth and only come out if they were getting shot at. They cleared the area and started looking in the van. They found meth right in the center console and searched the car. What scared me most was when my field officer and sergeant came back to the patrol car, let me out, and told me to come look in the back of the van. Both of them were pale and looked horrified. I went back to the van where there were several knives, duct tape, lighter fluid, and a decent amount of rifle ammunition, handcuffs, and what looked to be dried blood. In the front seat passenger side, we found an AR-15 style rifle and 2 more handguns. We called for immediate backup and detectives. When they investigated the blood, it turned out it wasn't blood. The plates had been stolen, and the van was reported stolen. I still get shit about the whole encounter, but luckily no one got hurt. I will never use online dating again, ever.
During my freshman and sophomore years in college, I was extremely awkward. I had just came out as being gay, and I didn't have any friends, and I was generally a big wad of social anxiety. Given that I didn't even have the social skills to make a few friends, it's not surprising that I also had literally no dating experience. Miraculously, over the course of the summer and sophomore year, I just sort of grew out of the worst of my social awkwardness. I lost some weight. I had a lot more confidence in myself, and my self-esteem was a lot higher. I came back to school in August, and by October, I had a decent number of genuine friends and had gotten a lot more involved on campus. With my newfound confidence, I decided to download Grindr to see what it was like. For anyone that doesn't know, Grindr is a gay dating app and is primarily used for finding sex and hookups. Despite my recent improvements in the social arena, I was still extremely naive and inexperienced when it came to dating and sex. I set up a Grindr profile with a nice picture of myself and a very brief bio, and I got a lot of messages very quickly after my picture got approved. One guy who messaged me had the display name Dad for Young, which should have been my first red flag, but I was oblivious. At the time I was 21, but I got regularly asked by campus staff which middle school or high school I was visiting from. I'm 23 now and I still get asked if I want a kid's menu when I go to restaurants with my parents. It's bad. So Dad for Young sends me a message saying, "What's up?" And I reply without looking at his profile first. I then look at his profile and notice he's 54, and his profile text say, "The younger, the better." And his only picture is a zoomed in blurry picture of his hairy chest. So I'm very much not interested. But given my experience, I thought ignoring him would be horribly rude, so I kept responding. I didn't totally remember what we talked about in the maybe 10 or so messages we exchanged at first. I do remember him telling me that I was very cute. I know I told him I was a student, but I never mentioned which college I went to. It's important to note, I went to a college in a major city, and there's a bunch of different colleges within 5 miles of each other, and a few more within 10 miles of those. Sort of like Tinder, Grindr works based off of your location, but much more precisely. If you're less than a mile or two away from someone who is online, it displays the distance in feet. I noticed that Dad's for Young's profile said he was 25 miles away, which I thought was kind of far. Dad for Young started getting more sexual in his chats and asked me if I wanted to meet up. I felt bad flat out denying him since he had been so polite. So I told him I didn't want to meet up with him that day, but that we could keep chatting if he wanted. I figured that was that. When I checked 20 minutes later, it said he was offline. About 30 minutes later, I get a message from him. "Hey, I got wild hair, and I thought it would be nice to drive out to your college." I had not told him the name of my college, nor had I told him what town I was in. I looked at his profile, and it now said he was 3 miles away. I started freaking out a little bit, and didn't reply to the message in hopes that he would just leave me alone. It's important to note that my college had a couple different campus chunks separated by a few miles. I lived in the upperclassmen residential campus, which was about 2 miles away from the main campus, where all the other student dorms and main building are. I felt like if he was going to find me, he'd go to the main campus first, then maybe give up since not many outside people know about the separate residential campus. 5 or 6 minutes later, I get another message that says something like, "No fun if you don't play along. What building are you in?" His profile now says he's a little over 2,500 feet away, and every single time I reopen his profile, the distance would decrease. I'm fully losing my shit at this point. This guy had the ability to pinpoint my location, so I shut my blinds, turned off my light, and locked my window and door to the apartment, and my bedroom door. My roommate was also out of town on some kind of retreat, so it was just me. He kept sending me messages every minute or so saying, "I'm gonna find you. Here I come." And other supremely creepy shit like that. The distance was now down to 310 feet, and I was completely losing my mind and didn't know what to do. So I just deleted my whole profile. Nothing else happened that night, though I was absolutely terrified that he was gonna come knocking on my door. Fast forward to 3 days later. I decided to re-download Grindr after doing more research and seeing that you can adjust the settings so that my exact location is not visible. When I log on the first time with my remade profile, I adjust some of these search filters until the results were specified enough to display Dads for Young's profile, which I promptly blocked. Later that evening, I get a message from someone with the display name, "We'll find you," with the same gross profile picture as Dads for Young, and my stomach sinks. He sends me a flurry of messages. "You fucked up. Almost got the police called on me because of you. Couldn't find you, so I had to go to other dorms to find someone else. Said I was outside his dorm and told me to leave and he'd call the cops. I'm coming for that sweet virgin asshole." I freaked out, blocked him again, deleted my profile again, then deleted Grindr. I refused to download it or any other dating apps for about a year after that, at which point I worked up enough courage to try it again. I have not heard from this nutjob since. Thank God. So terrifying old man with a fetish of young, inexperienced boys. Please, let's never ever meet.